Good morning, Michael. How are you doing today?
I am Austin Martin. How are you doing this morning?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you very much.
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Hello to everybody and welcome back to AGTP Daily. We go live every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time to discuss the most important tech stories in the United States of America. Today is Wednesday. I know that because tomorrow's Thursday. Today is the 15th of July, 2026. We want to talk about DeepMind CEOs predicting a warning a little bit about AGI coming in a few years. Stripe also wants PayPal's distribution, and SpaceX unveils Starlink V5 terminal. And later in the show, we'll be joined by Ilan Twig, a co-founder and chief technology officer at Navan, to explore how AI-powered travel and expense platforms it's just going to give businesses more control over travel spending while making corporate travel easier for employees. I have so many stories about this because I used to work at a big corporation and corporate travel's a nightmare. Anyway, okay, Martin. Let's just jump right into this. Let's talk about DeepMind's Demi Hasabi predicts AGI in a few years. This guy is arguing that artificial general intelligence may only be a few years away, and he was saying this in kind of a warning type way. It wasn't like, "Yay, we're almost there." He's like, "Whoa, we're almost there," kind of thing. And his idea about like what AGI is a system that possesses like a broad range of like human-like cognitive capabilities. Okay. Rather than a model that just excels at like giving answers to things.
Okay.
Right. Which is just, it's really kind of different. And he believes that its impact, if it actually works, right? Because the thing about the existing models is they like pass benchmark tests. You know what I mean? How many answers can you give? Is the answer right? What percentage of the time? Did it come up with something new? Like these types of benchmarks are great, but that's not the way we measure any human.
I mean, should we mention like the test we do at school, for example, or like the test we go like for example to Harvard or to MIT? Like we do have a test that like it's true, it's wrong, and then based on that you have a table, and then the guy on top of the list go to the best school, right?
Yeah, standardized tests. So you're talking about the like in the United States, they have this scholastic aptitude test. There's a whole bunch of like arguing around like whether the SAT is actually valid or not.
Okay.
I'm well past the point where I have to care about it. I don't have any kids that are college aged, and I'm no longer college aged either, so I don't have to worry about it. But the point is that your brain does a bunch of things. Like the cognition that happens inside your brain is very different than what's happening right now in an LLM.
Yep. And plus, like, there's plenty of example where, like, even if you have a great score at the test or you're really good at school, and it doesn't mean you're super clever and you're gonna have a super job that you're gonna love and that you're gonna make a lot of money and you're gonna be the best at your job, right? Like, there's millions of examples where like people who are not good at school, who don't have good grades at all the tests in the world, actually become the best into something. And to be honest, my brother is exactly this example. Michael, did I ever tell you about my brother?
All I know about your brother is he's a doctor, so I just presumed he's the same as my brother, who was always great at school.
Okay. So maybe just for the sake of this story, let's do this little side story. My brother was the worst at school. The worst of the worst.
Why
He was not focused. He was not working. He was the guy making a mess in the class. He was focused on something else.
ADHD, probably has ADHD. Anyway, go ahead.
He was like really doing something else. Like really, he was not focused. He was hungry even at school. You know, it was not for him. Like he was really not made for that. I think like in France at like 18 years old, that when we finish high school, that's different names in French, so it's a bit confusing sometimes. But like when you are 18 years old and you finish, you know, like high school.
The school before college, basically.
Yes.
School before university, let's just call it that, yeah.
Exactly. And so when you finish that, we pass like an exam called baccalaureate, and you need to have at least 10 to be, you know, to go to university. And 10 is like really the average, right? It's like you get to just get the average 10 out of 20, sorry, right? So it's like a 20-point system, and you need 10 out of 20. And it's really average. Like if you are okay student, you get 10. I mean, you get 12 if you're an okay student. I think my brother got like 10.05, something like that. He just passed barely, right? Like really, really barely. And then just after baccalaureate, he went to medicine school. And the way it works in France, that first of all, like medicine school in France is free. So that's absolutely amazing. It's really, really good. good.
We call it
But
medical. We call it
yeah,
medical school.
sorry, medical school is absolutely free, so that's amazing. But first year, you have maybe like, let's say 1,500 students who go to the university, and at the end of the year, they pass a test, and they may be cheap like only 200 to go
Okay.
to year 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. Okay,
Yep.
and you can only fail it once. Okay, so if you fail year 1, you can try one more time, and then it's over. So you can only do it twice.
Feels
Ye-
yucky, but go ahead. I
Year
mean, I've never
1,
failed like that, so I don't know what that means. But
year
still, go ahead.
1, my brother goes to
Medical school.
medical school, and he finished like 1,400. But I mean, it was coherent, right? Like it was coherent. He was bad in high school. He just passed the baccalaureate average, and so then when he goes to medical school, he's like 1,400. Nobody was surprised. Everybody
Makes
told
sense,
him
yeah.
like, "We told you so," right? Like
Checks out.
it just checks out, and then somehow, Michael, in the summer between year 1 and year 2, something switched in his brain.
He
Somehow,
found God.
he found God. He found something. It's still like a big question to be honest
It's a mystery to the
for
family.
everybody, for absolutely everybody. What happened to my brother during this specific summer? And then year 2, he finished 12. Which 12 out of 1,500 is like the one who have 21 out of 20 at the baccalaureate. Is the guys who have worked for like 18 years in school, were like the most,
What
the
happened?
most focused. No idea. And then from year 2 onward, so year 2, year 3, and then now he's in year like 7 or 8, he has always been in the top of his class. Always top 1, top 2, top 3 maximum. Like he's been the best of the best at being a doctor. And now that he is a doctor, he is considered like one of the best at what he does. Like way better than all the other students of his same age group, I would say. He's way better than everybody else. And so what happened to him? And so that's a really good example where like a test can actually fail you, right? Like even if you don't pass the test, even if you don't have good grades, you can actually become really, really good at what you do. And now that he's a doctor, everybody in the family trusts him. Like if my brother says something, it's probably true. Like it's because like he's bad and good at the same time. You have like the two sides.
Exactly.
With him, he's not like too much in the books or too much on the correct processes. You will just get stuff done, right? And so this practicality at the end of the day makes him a really good surgeon. Plus he's doing end surgery, which is one of the hardest type of surgery that you can do.
My brother's wife was a reconstructive hand surgeon.
Yep. So
it's really hard work.
Yep, so he's doing that. So like he didn't choose the easiest path to be a doctor, and once again he's one of the best there. And so it's really, really impressive how, I don't know, something switched in his mind. And once again, if we just had followed the grades, right, like just had followed school, like all of his teachers were like, he will never succeed in medical school. So that's just pretty crazy.
So isn't this the perfect example, though, of what this guy is talking about when he's defining AGI?
Yes, exactly. I think that's the perfect example, right? And why like benchmarks and all of these things may actually not be always super accurate.
Yeah, like they matter at some level as a filtering mechanism, right? Like if it's just completely terrible, like if your brother had scored 0 on the international, not at the international, on the baccalaureate, that would have been a problem. But he was average, right? But it didn't deter him from actually going to medical school and then actually excelling there. I think this is the point that this guy's trying to make, is that you can't define the models today as AGI, and AGI itself is not going to be something that's going to be testable per se. Like there was this really famous, and again, this is not meant to be funny, but there was this really famous thing, I think in the US Senate or the US House of Representatives, but somewhere in Congress or somewhere, they were trying to like define pornography.
Okay.
And the guy was like, I don't have a definition for it, but I think we all know it when we see it, kind of thing.
Okay.
And it wasn't meant to be funny. Like there was I forget the reason why.
Okay.
But the point is, I think that's what general intelligence is as well. Like it's hard to define exactly what it is, but whatever it is, we'll know it when we see it. Does that make sense?
Okay.
But the reason why he's talking about this, right? Obviously, he's the CEO of Google or Alphabet's, DeepMind, which is their AI company. And he's not saying that that we're there yet. But what he is saying is that he's very concerned that it's going to lower the expertise required. You and I have talked about this before, right?
Okay.
If you can create a machine that can substitute for your own intelligence, not your own ability to repeat stuff that's already out there. That's not
Mhm.
intelligence, right? That's just repetition
Mhm.
and mimicking. But if you can create a machine that can reason, that can understand context, that can do what the human brain can do. And look, you and I have talked about this too. Like, it's so hard to explain just how complex and how
Mhm.
complicated and how powerful the human brain is.
Mhm. Mhm.
Think about it. In the middle of this whole conversation, you could just like switch to French, like it was nothing.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Like it was nothing.
Yep.
But also explain things, explain things and reason things and understand things,
Mhm.
not just repeat stuff in French.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
That's intelligence.
Yeah, and plus, like something that we also always say, like like I love this example of, the toddler. Let's take a 3 years old, right? Who
Yeah.
would need a context book, like if we compare to how we use AI as of
Yeah. Yeah.
today,
Yeah.
right? Like imagine if a toddler had a context book with basically all the information that he should know and that he has gathered since he was born. So for example, this is a nose,
Yeah.
this is a ear, food goes in the mouth and food doesn't go in the nose, this is a mum,
Right.
this is that, right? And
Yeah.
and every morning the toddler actually has to read this book to actually get back all the information. That's how we use AI right now. We are creating this second brain, this knowledge base, this like all of these things to actually keep the context, but our brain doesn't need any of that, right? Our brain just
So,
get it, right? It
so
just
again, I was telling you about this quote that I read a couple of weeks ago, and it was like, we cheer when AI does something that a
yeah.
toddler does, like by default.
Yes, yes, yes. And really, really early on, right? Like really
Yeah.
early on,
Super early on.
toddler is able to do a lot of stuff, like really, really a lot of things when you really think about it, without any context, without any book, without any notes, right? Because he doesn't know how to write, so he's not taking notes and just like then like studying at night what he needs to remember for tomorrow. That's not the way toddler
Right.
works. The brain just get it, right? So like I
So,
think something interesting. Sorry to interrupt you,
no, go
but
ahead.
but I think something else that is really interesting with the brain is that all the instant memory that we have, where we are able to, for example, have this conversation, right? But at the same time, we also have a long-term memory where we can access information, store information, and so tomorrow, if we talk about this conversation again, we are not going to remember exactly every word and every ideas, but
No.
we are going to store the most important information. So these two layers basically of like active memory and more like the storage
The
memory.
details, yeah.
Yes, it's really something that's very impressive when you think about it more clearly, right? And it's
But also the
and
access is instantaneous. Do you know what I
it's
mean? Like the
instant,
bus,
yeah. Mhm,
if you think about like the things that are going on in your brain and the bus that
mhm.
connects like this part of your brain to the other part of the brain, it's
Mhm.
instantaneous. At least
Yes,
it
yes, yes,
feels like it is, right? And there's still
yes.
lag in computer systems. We talk about how the
Mhm,
CPU is the thing that communicates between that is used to communicate between the GPUs.
mhm, mhm,
It's not as instantaneous. And this is the thing. But his warning is really about this idea that you don't need to have this incredible expertise required to do things like sophisticated cyber attacks,
okay.
right? So like you don't have to know, like right now, maybe you need all this other information about like holes in systems and stuff like that. But
Mhm,
maybe you could probably just, if the AGI is done,
mhm,
I'm sure you could just tell, like, create the most sophisticated cyber attack against whatever company
mhm, mhm. And you just
or against every company. Look for the holes in their system, look for MCP, look for anything in the APIs, do whatever it takes to do, and then break into the system. Once you do that, let me know, and then we'll have other instructions for you. It's literally like having Jason Bourne out there who has no emotion, but he's worried about this. And he also thinks that like biological and other national security stuff, as these models become more powerful, is just going to become more dangerous. So this warning is not like, hey, we're almost there. It's more like, oh my God, we're almost there. And if we are almost there, you and I have also spoken about the International Atomic Energy Agency, right? The
Mhm,
IAEA,
mhm,
and
mhm,
how it's out there nominally to protect the world against rogue states having nuclear bombs, right? Nuclear
mhm,
weapons,
mhm,
or just to keep track of like who understands what in the atomic era.
mhm, mhm.
And he's actually and he would not be the first person to do this, right? Because I think Sam Altman and Dario Amodei a couple of months ago, maybe like 6 weeks ago, came out and said like there needs to be some sort of international standards on this. And he's basically recommending the same thing.
Mhm.
Right. He wants a US initiated like frontier AI standards body that's modeled on like the Financial Industry Regulation Authority. I would say
Mhm.
it should be on the IEA, but like that's just me. But his point is that people need to start paying attention to this, right? Instead of just racing forward. And remember, he has a vested interest in people using this as much as possible,
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, that's
right?
true.
And he has no track record of going out there and saying like Gemini is way too dangerous.
Yeah, and he's not talking about Gemini, he's talking about AGI in a couple of years, right?
Yeah,
That is just say, hey, we got to pay attention to AGI that's coming, and not like Gemini is too dangerous to be released. Yep, that's something to note exactly. Good
yeah,
point. Mhm.
yeah. So that's one of the reasons why I want to point this out, right? Because he would want people in the same way that the IEA and also that FINRA that developers would have to like submit these powerful models to some kind of approval agency.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's not the only thing that's out there really, but it's just this idea that like this stuff is getting really really powerful really fast, and and again we don't know what they've developed internally, right? And you have to
Mhm.
remember that DeepMind itself only released Gemini because ChatGPT came out and Anthropic
Yes,
came out.
yes, 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 yes. They released
So
it
we didn't
really,
even
really quick. Yeah. Do
But you
you
understand the point. Like,
remember?
we didn't know what they were working
Yeah.
on. So he's not
Mhm.
giving up the fact that they may be working on something where he just feels like, oh, we're seeing some pretty insane
Mhm.
progress, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
But the fact that he's so sanguine about this means that he may have information that we don't have.
That's very likely, right? Like Google has been working on AI since how long, Michael?
20 years, 25
20
years
years,
longer. Yeah.
25 years, right? It's been like they've been working on artificial intelligence forever, right? At Microsoft, at Google, sorry, and
Yeah.
they only released Gemini as a public product after ChatGPT because they had to do something, and that was the first mover advantage of OpenAI to actually launch ChatGPT first. That's how they got all the market shares. They had no choice. So. So yeah, no, I think this is an interesting question. Like I think it raises a lot of questions as well. Like for example, if you take like the what's the name of the atomic energy
International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA.
IAEA? Okay, and so if you want to make nuclear power, you need a lot of stuff that are first hard to get, and second, if you enrich your uranium, that's pretty much the moment where everybody sees what you're doing, right? It's something that's gonna be hard to hide. And then if you want to actually make a bomb or something like that, you're gonna have to like make tests and all of this, which is also something pretty hard to hide. So I don't know how that same concept can be applied to AI when it looks like it's much easier to train an AI model thanks to like all the providers that we have right
Yeah.
now. And it looks like look like we talked about that yesterday. Like Reflection, they raised how much? $2 billion, right? And now boom,
Yeah. Yeah.
they can train an AI models by themselves. So maybe it's not as good as AGI, what he's talking about, but maybe it will not be as hard as building, like not like an A bomb, but more like a nuclear power, right? Like whether it's
Yeah.
for a plant or it's for something else, it's gonna be pretty hard to do that on your own. But here it looks to me that an AI model is much simpler, and it's just a big computer and then a bunch of scientists, and then you
Yeah,
just
it's not
build an
hard.
AI.
This is a well-defined thing right now. Like
Yes,
if you wanted to, anybody who has the technical chops to do it could go out and build an LLM.
it feels like
They just
that,
need the
right?
money to do it, to do the training runs, right? That's the hard part at the beginning.
Yes, but then it will just get easier and easier. Like in 5 years from now, we're gonna have stronger computers. We may have some open source model that we can use as a base. The data sets are going to be even easier to get. Like the more people are interested into building AI, then the more like the entire value chain is going to be more optimized, faster, stronger, cheaper,
Yeah,
and everything. Unlike once again nuclear power where there is like some really serious difficulties. Like we cannot like build nuclear power just you and me tomorrow, but it feels like maybe in 2 years we will be able to build our own SLM, our small language model,
Oh,
right?
I think
Like
that would be simple to do actually, because the methodology now is out there. Again, if we have the
exactly.
resources
Yeah.
to be able to do the training, we should be able to do it. And as the cost for those things comes down, and
Hmm.
as the models themselves actually can get physically smaller,
Mm-mm.
right? Whether that's through compression or some other methodology that hasn't been developed yet, I think it's going to be pretty easy for people to build their own LLMs. As we've said a lot, like I don't think this is the end game for
No.
artificial intelligence models at
Yeah.
all. Not even close.
So that's why, like, what is going to ensure or to make AGI really difficult to be rebuilt and not accessible to at least, you know, a large number of people, and so then we can regulate it with with an agency. I think that would be one of the questions that would need to be answered here, I think.
Yeah, I don't. But the thing is, I don't think it's possible in the software in a connected software age. I just don't think it's going to be possible to keep this out of the hands of the people that actually
Yeah.
want it.
And plus, like, let's also like let's also like keep in mind and remind to everybody that organized crime as of today are very rich, like really, really, really rich. Like, if I remember correctly, Michael, like the scam centers in Southeast Asia, they make billions of dollars every year. Like,
Billions of dollars.
it's in the billions, right?
Yeah, we have to be careful when we talk about organized crime
Yes.
because it sounds like the mafia, but we're not
Yeah.
talking about that. We're talking about like global crime syndicates.
Yes, like the scams, like when you when you receive a phishing email, basically, right? Or like or like all of these type of scams, they are actually highly
Yeah,
sophisticated scam centers. They are all around the world, and this
and
guy
very
can
well
make,
funded as well. Yeah,
and very well funded, and they can make like billions of dollars per year. So which means like Reflection raising $2 billion to build an AI model that they announced yesterday for these people who can do very high level and nice sophisticated cyber attacks. It's nothing. That's something that they can do as well, right?
yeah.
So I think there's always also like this thing to also keep in mind that the more you regulate it, like for example, not giving access to Fable or to Mythos, actually may
Encourage other
only
people to build stuff that you
encourage.
can't
Yeah,
control, right? This
yeah.
is the big problem.
And then actually at the end of the day, like give a disadvantage to the defenders, because the
Yeah, for
defender
sure.
is in the US, they get to abide by the US law, so they get to go through all the processes. But the attackers, they don't care, right? And so this window where the company in the US needs to get access to the model, get the approval, let's say just at 3 weeks, for example, then that's a 3 week window into which the attackers can do whatever they want, and the defenders doesn't have access to the best tools to be able to defend themselves,
No,
right?
and
And so
also anytime you do a ban like this, you don't know what the unintended consequences are either.
yes.
Right. So that's a big problem.
So I think this is a lot of like of very sensitive questions behind that, right? It's not like very simple to say, hey, we're just gonna regulate it. It's a lot of things to be really thoughtful about this question of we need to regulate it.
Agreed. And one more thing, Martin, before we move on to the next topic, because we want to cover three of them tonight before we welcome our wonderful guest.
Yep.
What's the last traded price for our favorite SpaceX?
I think yesterday it closed at 138.
Yesterday it closed at 136.08.
136 yesterday. Wow.
Yeah, so where's it trading now, Martin?
135.
Don't look. 135.56.
Wow. Okay, so in a month we are back to the IPO price.
Yeah, I wonder if we knew anybody that predicted that. Anyway,
Did you buy the option, Michael?
I did not. I did not. I don't trust the public markets. I have too much information. Okay, Martin, let's run through some of this stuff quickly. So apparently,
Mhm.
Stripe and a hedge fund or a private equity fund called Advent International have reportedly offered, they've bid $60 a share, $60.50 a share for PayPal. For PayPal.
Mhm.
I think this is a big deal. It's not even really outside of AI anymore, right? Because we know that Stripe is working on agentic payments. We know that they're trying to take over the AI space when it comes to finance and stuff like that. They're valuing PayPal at more than $53 billion, a little more than $53 billion.
Yeah.
It's about a 28% premium to PayPal's previous closing price, and they already have committed bank funding as well. And that chart you're showing is what? A copy of PayPal's stock price over what time period?
Since 2016, there is not
So
enough.
after 2016, it rallies like crazy, right? What was its high price?
COVID, 309, the all-time high.
309. That's
Yes.
5 times higher than it is right now.
Even sales now right now is like 47.
Yeah, sorry, 47, right? So yeah, 6 times higher.
Yep. And
So go ahead.
it's like the level of at 47 we are back in mid 2017. So basically zero growth since like 8 years.
9 years.
9 years, sorry. We, we,
Yeah.
we need each other for the math. We need one to correct the other. That's how we get the correct numbers. But
I will
yes,
give you this. Sometimes it does still feel like it's 2025.
true.
But what's really interesting here is that Stripe was valued at $159 billion in February, and they processed $1.9 trillion for businesses in 2025. And PayPal processed $1.79 trillion, but generated only $33 billion of revenue.
Oh wow.
So almost, I mean, so almost the same amount of processing,
Okay.
and yet 33 billion of revenue versus 115 versus where is it?
Ah, Michael, we lost you. No. No, we lost Michael. Okay, give us just one little second to get Michael back. We wouldn't make the joke that it was way too important to be heard. We couldn't broadcast this. Okay, let me check. It was too dangerous to give the information. We have lost you. No. Okay. Give us 1 second. Sorry for that. Michael is coming back. In 1 second. Okay, Michael, you are back. Hello, hello.
Hey man,
Can you hear me? All good? You are back on the live.
I can. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, all good. Perfect.
Okay. Anyway, we should talk about like PayPal's market value has fallen like gigantically since its 2021 peak, as you can see it in that chart that you were talking
Yes.
about there. Yeah.
Yep.
But you have to ask yourself this question: like, why does PayPal? I mean, why would Stripe, which is like a back end infrastructure builder
Mhm,
that has that's built a pretty good business, right?
mhm, mhm.
What is it missing? Why would it want to buy PayPal's business?
So on top of my head like this, I would say PayPal has Venmo. That's not something that Stripe has.
Exactly.
PayPal has never been really strong in the enterprise, but maybe they have POS. I'm not super sure what they do exactly in the US. Maybe through Venmo they have POS, they have some enterprise, and that's more the bread of butter of Stripe, so they could integrate their own services there. That's pretty
So
much it.
yeah. So think about this. You have it like mostly right. But here's the thing.
Mhm.
PayPal also has millions, hundreds of millions of individual users
And also globally, right?
and globally,
It's a
right? So they're
really
a
global
global
brand
business
now.
that has hundreds of millions of individual users, whereas on the flip side, Stripe is really kind of like a B2B thing.
Yes, 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 yes. It's true.
So now they get to dominate both the consumer side and the business side, and they have Venmo, a whole bunch of stuff that they didn't have before, and distribution. That's why the title of this is Stripe wants to get PayPal's distribution. And again, think about what it would take for Stripe to go out and build that wallet.
Yeah.
Building the wallet technically is simple, right? But as we always say, the key here, and I think this is the thing that people overlook, is even if they've got a great product, they've got to be able to distribute it, right? We talked about this when it came to the phone for OpenAI. We were talking about that a couple of days ago, right? Like they could build the best phone in the world. It could like literally be just like a thin piece of glass. It could be insanely amazing, but who's going to buy it if no phone store will sell it, if they can't get it onto Amazon, if they don't have the distribution, and if they don't have the right operating system on there, like none of that stuff is going to work. And this is, I think, the thing that Stripe is thinking too. And you also have to imagine that there would be a lot of sort of technological synergies here, even though the tech is different. But that's just the things that they could do to streamline operations across the board if those two things were combined. Has to be pretty powerful.
I think at least if one company had to acquire PayPal, at least Stripe, they are probably the closest to their business. They are the one who understand it the best, I think. And they understand the problem, they understand the opportunities. Also, like let's not forget that Stripe as Stripe Link, that is an attempt to go to the B2C markets. Like last time I
Yeah.
spoke to the Stripe team, now they were telling me like, okay, Link is really, really important to us. Like this is something that we really want to push. And because that's a way to actually get people data stored on the Stripe platform. So then when you go buy basically on multiple merchants that are not related to each other, except that they all use Stripe, then you can actually use Link to actually pay with your card, for example, across all the merchants who use Stripe. That's really the goal, and that's pretty much what PayPal does in a way, right? Like you have a PayPal account, you can send money to everybody who has a PayPal account as well, and same for Venmo. They also acquired Braintree. I mean, I think 15 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, a long time ago.
So Braintree, like that's the edge company of of Brian Johnston, Brian Johnson, the guy from Don't Die, who is just testing absolutely everything.
Oh
But
no.
so this guy became super rich through Braintree, that he sold I think for $300 million to PayPal. Yeah, something like 10 or 15 years ago.
Right.
So I think if one company had to acquire PayPal, Stripe is probably the one who understands their business the best and who may have a good idea of what to do with the different assets.
Yeah.
I don't
No,
see it. Yeah,
I don't disagree with you. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. I don't see another company who would be so much closer without exactly being it is so much so close without being really a competitor because they don't really operate in the same markets, but they are really close to each other. I think PayPal brand is stronger. There are more users as well because they do B2C. They are well respected, well known, well trusted all over the world. With Stripe doesn't have this B2C layer, so it could add that to Stripe. I think it makes sense in a way.
Yeah, and it's not like PayPal's revenue is collapsing either.
Hmm.
It's just that the value of what it's doing, right? Because they did almost the same amount of throughput as Stripe did, right? I said what, $1.9 trillion. They might have done more. What's the number again? No, 1.79 versus 1.9 trillion. So it's almost the same amount of money that's going through their
Hmm.
pipes.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
again, PayPal is an old company with old technology. And I think if you
Yes.
rationalize what's happening there, the likelihood that this thing is going to get better rather than it getting worse. And you're right, it's the flip side of the same thing. One of them is very, very consumer focused, although there are business accounts on PayPal,
Yes.
right? But if you combine them and use the consumer side of this business to generate some growth, then they own the consumer side and then they'll own the business side as well. It'll end up being a very, very powerful platform.
Yes, it's possible. Yep, it's possible. It's possible. Plus, at only 30, at least 52, right? Like they bid at 53. Sorry, PayPal right now is at 36, so they pay a good premium on it, but it's not crazy. Yeah, I think it's an interesting play. They don't have tons of challenges, all right? Like it's like PayPal is PayPal didn't grow down that much because it's a great business that makes a lot of money and that is growing super fast. That's definitely
Right.
not the case. That's why they are going down. But once again, if there's one that could acquire it and make sense of it, probably Stripe is the best position for it. Which is actually interesting because PayPal is a public company, are they?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, of course. That's why they bid for their stock publicly. Their stock's up 10% today.
But Stripe is not. And they didn't say they do a SPAC or something like that. So are they
They don't
going
have
to
to.
are
They
they
don't have
going
to.
to IPO through or are they going to get PayPal private or is Stripe going to go public through
So it's
PayPal?
not clear to me that they're going to take it private, but there's nothing that's going to stop them from acquiring them and then either delisting them
Hmm. Hmm.
or just owning, because they're doing it with a company called Advent International, right? And
Okay.
Advent is going to own 50% of the final company, and Stripe is going to own 50% of it as well.
Ah, okay.
And I think one of the things I said was they're going to leave PayPal operating independently,
Okay.
but then try to incorporate and try to what's the right word, rationalize their operations, and then also rationalize and modernize all of their technology. Can you imagine what PayPal's technology stack is like?
it must be sold. And
Creaky. It's just got to be creaky.
plus, it's bad, really. Like it's, I mean, if you go to the PayPal.com website and try to sign up and go to your account, you see it was built like such a long time ago. And that's something that Stripe has done so well. Like the entire
Yeah, yeah.
UI, UX of Stripe, when you go as a merchant, right? Like we actually do use Stripe in our business when we need to get that card payments. Like
Right.
all of our payment go through Stripe, and that's an amazing platform. Like really, it's really good. It works super well. It's really clear. It's really nice. PayPal is definitely not at this level. Like if you ever
No.
done e-commerce and you try to integrate Stripe as a payment gateway and you try to integrate PayPal as well, you definitely see who has the best tech stack. It takes 1 minute, 3 clicks to integrate Stripe, and it just works. And PayPal, it takes days. It's super complicated. You need to send them a million documents. It's like they don't want you as a client, basically. Like so it's
Yeah. And
so
they
yeah.
never want to give you their money back if they make a mistake.
Yes, and then it's really hard as well to do that. Ilan asked us, are there any antitrust issues with this acquisition? They would definitely become a very big player. So, is there some information about that, Michael? First of all, like, is there like any information? I don't think so, right? I think that's too early to have any type of public information
So
about that.
I'm going to try to say this in the best possible way. Um, the enforcement of antitrust laws is very administration specific,
Hmm.
and the current administration does not care about antitrust for all the obvious reasons. It's just not a concern of theirs at all. So, if as long as the current administration is in power, it seems unlikely to me that the Federal Trade Commission or whoever is running the antitrust oversight, the Justice Department, just doesn't seem interested in doing anything related to this. Would there be in normal times opposition to this? I mean, the other thing that I would say is I would be surprised if no other bidders came out, right? And
Yes.
here's the reason why.
Mm.
Um, Stripe is doing this for a bunch of different reasons, but not the least of which is they are trying to promote agentic commerce and agentic payments. And what is that?
As long as they integrate the Trump coin into their payment system.
Yeah, I'm trying to be as apolitical as possible and just give the facts, ma'am, just the facts.
Exactly.
Um, but PayPal could actually help Stripe on the agentic payment side and on the agentic commerce side, right? Because they are connected to a bunch of e-commerce style merchants and all the people that pay those e-commerce style merchants using their wallet on PayPal.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Yeah. And if you could connect those two things together, it's very likely that that would actually speed their connectivity in the agentic commerce and the agentic payment route, which is something that they want to do.
Also, I think PayPal is pretty strong on the physical commerce, right? Like when you go to a store and then you just pay like all the POS, like almost yeah, accept PayPal, and I think that's one of the like good way that they like to pay in the US.
Mm.
And this is not something where Stripe is strong at, right? And I think they have a Stripe POS, so you can like have a store and then have your point of sales managed by Stripe, so then everything is connected with each other. That's super great, but that will give more distribution to Stripe as well, like more clients, more users on that side, where I don't think they are that strong. Then are they going to become a big player? I think this is actually a much more complicated question than it looks, because
But a big player in what terms? On what
yeah,
terms, though?
exactly. That's where I was going, because they don't really do the same thing. It's not like they acquire direct competitors. Stripe is really strong on the B2B side, and PayPal is really strong on the B2C side, and probably as well the POS side, like the physical commerce, the in-store purchase. So it's not really like they are getting bigger into one sector. It's more like they are expanding to different business line. And
Yep.
I think in all of these business lines, there are a lot of competitors, especially on the wallets. Like PayPal was the first and the best 25 years ago, but since then there has been a lot of wallet companies, like all the Robinhood, all the Cash App as well from from Square as well. Like they are all competing with these companies, and I don't think the two combined make them bigger than all the others combined. I don't think we are at this level of market share, because they are big, sure, but there's a lot of players, a lot of competition in all the markets that they operate in.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing too is that their flagship product, the thing that people know them the best for, has only grown like 1% in the last year. Right. So it's not like again, it's not like their revenue is collapsing, and their revenue is actually higher than Stripe's revenue is, but just not consumer, but investor confidence in their business, obviously reflected in their stock price,
Yeah.
has just gone down dramatically. And this is one of the things we always say in the stock market, right? Like, dislocation is an opportunity. This stock is definitely dislocated. And again, because it's an old, I mean, 25 years shouldn't be that old, but it's an old company with a lot of really good sort of individual assets. And the fact that the whole valuation has reset. I mean, apparently at its height, it was worth $360 billion, and now it's worth what, 36. Even though they're going to buy it at 50, they're going to pay 53 billion for it because they're paying a 28% premium. But the bottom line is, when valuations reset like that, smart companies actually come in and go, there's no way we could create these assets at that price.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Right. So if we can't recreate them, why not just join them?
Yeah, and yeah, that's much more than just a tech story, right? Like
Yeah.
Stripe is not like, okay, how do we actually like the question is like, if we want to build the tech, if we want to build like the B2C part of the business, if we want to build like the POS side of the business, can we do it for less than 53 billion? Like that's part of the question, right? Like how much does it cost us to actually
But also
get
speed to the execution, right?
and then so the speed, that's why I said it's not only a tech story, right? Like there's the tech side, sure, but there's also the speed, there's also the time you waste at doing this, and also very, very hard is all the distribution, all the brands, getting all the clients, all the marketing. So buying a company, even maybe you pay, I don't know, twice more than what you would do if you do it yourself. It makes a lot of sense because then you have all the assets right now, right? So if it takes you 3-4 years, and maybe never, because like if you launch a new business line, maybe you will never be successful. So that's why it makes sense to actually acquire a company like this, pay the amount that you think is right with all of these elements taken into consideration.
Can we talk about the price that that they're bidding for this? So Stripe and Advent have reportedly bid $60.50 a share for PayPal. It's trading. What's the trading price right now? It's $54.88.
Okay.
What does that tell you?
Is it up?
Well, it tells you that the market doesn't believe this is going to happen, actually.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's up 15%, but normally what it would do, the merger or the purchase arbitrage would just go right to that price.
Okay.
If everybody fundamentally believed that this was going to happen for sure, and that they were going to pay that price for all that stuff, it's not that they can't do it. They've secured the financing for it. They can do it. And Advent International has invested in a bunch of other fintech companies, so it's not even like it's out of their bailiwick. It's just that the market is telling you, by not going directly to that price, or at least the trading desks are telling you, they're not 100% sure what's going to happen here. Because if they were, they would know that the floor price where they could get out would be $60.50, right? But they're afraid that something else is going to happen.
Wow, that's an interesting insight, Michael. Thank you very much for sharing this.
But you understand the point, though, right?
I mean, it makes sense, right? That if you have somebody who goes out there and say, look, guys, I'm going to buy your share at $60, right? And right now the price is at 47. Then whatever I buy below 60, right?
It's a moneymaker for me.
Is just going to make money instantly. If I'm 100% sure this is going to happen, right?
Yeah.
If I'm sure that at some point they are going to buy it at 60, even if I buy it at 59.5, I'm going to make money. It's a sure way to make money. So that's why, like, this is exactly to your point. Then you have somebody who buy at 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 55 until we reach 60, because then, like, everybody wants to make money, and it's just going to buy the stock up to the price that Stripe announced. That's what we would all do. But because it doesn't happen, then
but again, you have to remember, Martin, that there are entire trading desks at all these big investment banks and equity trading houses that have like merger arbitrage desks. Yes, and those merger arbitrage trading desks will look at this thing and do some analysis on it and just think, Would they really pay that price for this? And what's the likelihood that this is actually going to close with the announced price being the actual price that gets paid for the stock?
Because it could happen, but lower.
Yeah, lower, or maybe there's some reason that comes out where maybe PayPal goes, we're not selling.
Like GameStop and eBay. Do you
Exactly.
remember? Like,
Yeah, yeah. Same thing.
for those who followed, like I think a month or two ago, GameStop made an offer to buy eBay that with what 5 times their size, right? Like something like
Something
that.
ridiculous. Yeah,
Like
it was
something like
just
that.
unrelated market
Like
caps.
something like that. Like eBay was way bigger, and GameStop say, "Hey, we are going to buy you at I don't know, some premium as well, right?" And the market didn't move at all, right? So like it just
The
didn't
market
move.
yawned.
Yeah, it was like no movement at all on the eBay stock, even though GameStop said, okay, we are going to buy you above your market price, but nothing moved. And as of today, they didn't acquire eBay yet, maybe, but it didn't happen.
But I mean, that was
So,
months ago, right?
yeah, it was like, yeah, it was months ago. It was months ago.
So it's just
So,
something to watch in the market. It's a way for the market to show either confidence or lack of confidence in whether a transaction is actually going to happen. And it looks to me like people don't believe this thing is going to happen.
but yeah, that's interesting. So they must have more information than we do. It's good to know that people who are professional into this don't believe this is going to happen. Yeah, they must have more information. Maybe people are gonna say no. Maybe what else could happen besides people saying no? But why people would say no? Actually, like, I think it was a good deal for them. Huh?
Well, I mean, it may be a good deal for them, but maybe they decide that they want to buy the company themselves. Maybe they just do an MBO, a management buyout. Yeah,
Okay, and
there
then
are a
they
bunch of different things that can happen here. None
yeah.
of which we know about, and we have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. We saw, as you mentioned, what happened with the eBay thing.
Mhm,
They're just like, yeah, that's never going to happen.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Okay, super interesting. You want to do the third story, Michael?
Let's just talk about this pretty quickly before we welcome our guest for tonight.
Let's do it.
So there was a lot of chatter actually today about SpaceX unveiling their Starlink V5 terminal.
Mhm.
So Starlink, and again, one of the reasons why this is important is because this is one of the biggest revenue spinners for SpaceX,
Yes, yes, yes.
right? And you and I, have we used Starlink?
We didn't use Starlink, but we had a guest who were coming on our show a couple of days ago using Starlink.
They were, but remember, we were thinking about using Starlink. We were in
Yes, yes,
Singapore
yes,
for
yes,
something and blah,
yes,
blah, blah, right? You have to buy all this gear and all this other stuff, right, to be
yes.
able to use
Yeah.
it. You can't just like sign up for it and it just magically works, yeah?
Yeah, you have to buy an antenna that you put somewhere. I don't know if it can work, like, for example, if you put it into your living room. Does it need to be
No, it
on the
has to be,
roof?
I think it has to have like satellite, what's the
Like
word? Exposure,
line of sight between the
something
two?
like that.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be on a roof or in your front lawn or something like that.
Okay, maybe, yes. I don't know if it can be inside the building, because that's what we wanted to do, right? We wanted to bring
Yeah,
our
we
own
want to have it
internet
inside the, yeah.
inside the building, and we were like, okay, maybe it's gonna be complicated. Yes.
But here's what's going on here. This new version of this, and one of the reasons why it's important, not the least of which, again, is that it's the main revenue spinner for SpaceX, which is a weird thing to say considering does not get a lot of discussion out there. Mostly the rockets and data centers in space and XAI and then Grok and all this other stuff. But their build, this new one, version 5, is literally going from 2.9 kilograms down to 1.1 kilogram in weight.
Oh wow. Like the iPhone, I think is like 700 or 800, if I'm not 700 or 800 grams. So we're really, really close to actually the weight of an iPhone.
Yeah, but I mean, 1 kilogram is just like, it's like nothing, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely nothing. Yeah. Yes, yes, yes.
And the key here that its power consumption drops almost in half.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it makes it a really, really interesting device. And here's the other thing, Martin, that I thought was interesting. You know, these guys talk about how they want to have data centers in space and how everybody wants to use Starlink and blah, blah, blah. But the maximum speed, right, for the peak advertised download capacity for Starlink is only 400 megabits.
Okay.
And the new one is only going to be 375.
Okay.
And I feel like that's slow. Maybe not for most Americans, but don't you?
I mean, we both have 1 terabyte of internet, like not sorry, gigabyte, sorry, 1 gigabyte up and down.
Gigabit. We have
Yeah.
gigabit Ethernet, not
Yes, yes, yes.
gigabyte.
at home, right? Like our normal internet is 1,000 megabytes per second. So for sure, it's absolutely insane what we have, and this seems small compared to what we have. On the other end, definitely not everybody in the world have access to this type of connectivity. We are very lucky where we are. And so maybe for other people it will seem really big, but also something to keep in mind is that we never use, Michael, all of our bandwidth. Like it's really rare because at the end of the day, going to a website, they always throttle you. Like whatever you do, if you do to YouTube, if you do Netflix, if you do a website, they throttle you. So let's say they let you use, let's say, 20 megabytes per second per website that you go in.
Right.
Then if you have 1 gigabyte, so 1,000 megabytes as we have, it means you can go to 50 websites in parallel at the same time on 50 devices. This is not something that we do every day, right? Like this is not happening. So which means in our daily life, maybe we use only 100, 150 at the most, and everything else is just something that we don't use. So that's also something to keep in mind.
But just the reason why I said that as well is that you're right. We have gigabit Ethernet at home, but it's also network dependent.
Yeah.
In other words, it's never always consistently 1 gigabit of speed. It's more like 700 to 800.
Yeah.
So you're not wasting all of it. And that's the same thing with this, right? They advertise it as now 375. So the version 5 is a little bit slower than version 4. But the key here is not the speed. This is the thing that they're trying to do. Because of the size of the previous device and because of the power needs, it just ended up being too expensive for most people. Like you remember when we priced this up, right?
It was pretty expensive, yes.
So what they're trying to do is they're trying to lower the shipping cost by making it much smaller. In other words, just making it easier to distribute.
Okay.
Lower the power cost as well, so the people that actually use it don't have to use double the power than they were using before version 5. And they want to make it more affordable because they want to make it practical enough so that globally people can use this anywhere in the world at any time. They built the satellite network. They want to put more satellites up there, but they can't. There's no reason to build more satellite capacity if they're not going to get usage from more and more and more people. And right now it's too expensive, right? Because like, do you want to tell people what broadband at the rate that we get it actually costs for us, or do we want to keep that a secret because people find us and kill us?
They're going to be so jealous. I mean, we pay what, like $27, $28 per month, right? Something like that for our gigabits internet at all.
I pay $1,000 a month. I don't know what you're talking about.
You pay 1,000 bahts per month, Michael.
No, I don't actually. I pay way less than that. But yeah, it's probably like $26, $27 a month for gigabit Ethernet.
Something like that, right?
Right. So it's going to have to be able to compete with that. And it's also going to have low power usage and good battery usage as well, right? Because a lot of people actually do use this thing on the road. So if it's small enough to carry around with you, and because it's not location specific, I don't believe. Like, I don't know if it's just like if you buy it in Thailand, it just works in Thailand, or if you buy it in Maine, it just works in Maine. I don't know if you can put it on a plane with you, and as long as it has satellite access, even if you're in Paris or in Berlin, you can still use the same installation. I figure you were doing all the math on that thing when we were thinking about using it, so I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah, I was looking at it, and at that time it was region specific, so you couldn't take it all over the world with you. It was pretty heavy. I think it had to be outside, but it was like also 2 years ago, right? So it may have changed. Also, like they launched Michael, like Starlink into the first planes. I think they did a partnership with one of the airline. I don't remember which one exactly. You can go have a look online if you want to know more. But yeah, but they launched the first flight with Starlink inside, I think a week or two ago, like very recently. So hopefully that works good. Hopefully that works well. That works better than what we have right now. that would be nice. But yeah.
So are you getting the sense, because the airplane thing is actually something that's really interesting to me, right? And you're right, Starlink did sign an agreement with people to actually put this stuff on planes, which makes sense, right? Because it's in the sky.
Yes.
So it's got to be closer to the satellites, and the satellites themselves are moving. So the movement itself should not be a problem for the plane. And if there's more than one Starlink satellite up there, which there is, it should be able to satellite switch in real time.
Yes. So,
right.
maybe that's their real market. That's why they want to put so many satellites in the sky to be able to sell stuff to people in planes, Michael. That's the market.
I think it's more than that because look, they added 4.6 million subscribers alone last year.
Okay. Okay.
But again, it's still too expensive for most people. And what they're trying to do with every new version of their devices is make it smaller, more convenient, using less power, and actually cheaper for everybody to use so they can then increase it. Because think about it, if they literally litter the sky with satellites, then that movement, any little small movement, is not going to cause any sort of data latency or connectivity latency. But right now, what do they have? Like 6,000 satellites up there? I don't remember, 30,000 satellites, but whatever it is, it's not enough for complete coverage, according to them. So I think that I thought that was kind of interesting as well.
Yes, no, I think this is an interesting solution. This is a really interesting solution. It's a real threat to all the like the telcos who are distributing internet to people, and that has been like a highly regulated market. Like the companies from which you buy internet in Germany or in France or in the US are completely different. There is no one global internet provider. Every company only sell to their own market. Like even in Europe, right? Like every country has its own internet provider, and I think that comes from regulation that we just created,
Yeah.
that we just protected the local market basically to just create a couple of companies in the market, and preventing companies like AOL, for example, to just sell to the entire world and then take over everything. But yeah, it looks like that's what Starlink is doing. It looks like what SpaceX is trying to do, like one big global internet provider, which doesn't exist, right? It's not something that is here yet. And maybe they are going to build it. They would have to build. I mean, they had to build satellites and launch them, and to bypass all the laws and regulation and country control and all of this. So I don't know how this is going to fit into the law landscape. I don't know if somebody has already thought about it. I'm sure in Europe this is somewhere on the table. We need to regulate that thing.
About the regulations. Yeah.
Yeah, because like I think that I mean, I'm not in the government, but I think the only reason why we have different internet provider in each country is because that's the country themselves that prevents these
Absolutely.
companies from either expanding or from allowing the foreign entity to actually sell it in your country, and just everybody does that. So that's why we all have local company into every country. But here, Starlink wants to bypass the entire thing. So okay, on the competitive side, they want to compete with everybody, fine. But if there is a law that actually protects the local markets, how are they gonna go around that? And right now, it looks like they are going around everything, and nobody really cares about them. But is that going to sustain like this? Has anyone already ruled either in favor or against Starlink into any country in the world? I'm really curious about this question, like how this
But
is going
how do you
to.
block it in reverse? In other words, they can
Yeah.
turn off satellites because they did this, right? Strategically,
So
they did this for a short period of time with Ukraine, right? They like turned off their access to it.
so that's another really good question. And today, government use their internet provider for censorship, right? Like, so when they say, hey, we don't want this type of website to actually be available into our country, boom, they just force the internet provider to just make sure that these websites are not
Yeah,
available.
but how do you
And
do that if the sky is littered with satellites,
yes,
right? How do
and
you
so
stop that? That's the
yeah,
point, right?
and
And
so and so that's why
once you get information out there, it's going to be hard to take it away.
And so that's what, like, how government feel about this? Are they going to be okay to just like let censorship goes away because Starlink is here? Like I don't think so. Like all of these questions to me seems really weird. So maybe that's okay right now. To Starlink is still small, but as soon as they're gonna get bigger, I don't see how they're gonna go away with regulation, censorship from governments, and all of these things. They
No,
will need to
and as
comply.
well, like SpaceX through Elon Musk has taken, what's the right way to say this? The long view
Mhm.
on all of these things. Yeah.
Yes.
And if it takes him another 10 years or 15 years to get all the satellites in space,
Mhm.
they'll do it.
Mhm, mhm,
They'll
mhm.
try to do it.
Yes.
And they're indifferent to timing.
Yep, yeah, they are very, very, very patient. That's true. Mhm.
And the idea that they also own, so one of the other reasons, Martin, why they want to get these devices so small is because their rocket technology right now is large.
Mhm.
So they could put like hundreds of these little satellite things on them. I mean, right, these little things, they could distribute them smaller,
Mhm, mhm,
and
mhm.
then the satellites potentially could be smaller as well. And the more of them that they can put up there in a cheaper way to get the satellites up there using one rocket as opposed to 10 rockets
Yep.
just makes it structurally easier for them to succeed here as well.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. Michael, we have Ilan who just joined us, so I will let you finish on this topic,
No
and
worries at all.
I will say see you tomorrow to everyone, and I will welcome our guests to the live.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. See you tomorrow, and Michael will welcome Ilan for the guest of the day.
Super duper, man. Just let me know when he's
See
there.
you, everyone. Yep. See you, everyone. Bye bye.
So again, this all of this stuff is actually really important. I was sort of enamored of the story of Starlink. One because Elon Musk always takes the long view on this stuff, and the work on Starlink has been the thing that's been giving SpaceX its most value for the whole company, actually, not just as long as they integrate Trump coin. So I think that's pretty important. And SpaceX is really focusing on three types of expansion here. They want to have the terminals produced as really fast as possible. They want subscribers to increase as well. They had 4.6 million subscribers increase from last year. And they want to have this constellation capacity. This is the thing that Martin and I were, where they want to have more satellites in the sky. Um, and the hardware design, as I was mentioning, it solves an important deployment problem, while continued satellite and ground network investment must solve the capacity problem, right? And the other thing that they've done is they've proven the fact that they can actually do consumer style, consumer speed style um, networking, and not have so much degradation in the speed that people actually get when they're using that for their internet connectivity, as opposed to sort of terrestrial cellular networks. Um, Theoretically, right, the performance varies from geography to geography just based on where the satellites are, and that's one of the reasons why they want to have more celestial coverage. But the researchers have also documented that periodic network configurations create short-lived throughput and latency degradation. It's not a 100% perfected technology, but this thing is something that actually works. Unlike, in my mind, the data centers in space, the AI data centers in space, these things are much more easy to maintain. People understand how to work with these satellites and stuff like that, and there are fewer moving mechanical pieces in them than there would be in a data center as well, and less problematic. So I think that this is actually going to be something that people will continue to pay attention to. And while the V5 can make each customer cheaper and easier to connect, it doesn't by itself create additional orbital bandwidth, which is fine. But that's one of the reasons why they need to create more bandwidth for themselves. And they haven't solved that part of the problem yet. But again, as we said, those guys take a long view on almost everything that they do. And I'm pretty confident that when it comes to the stuff that SpaceX is doing in the space, for lack of a better term, has a much more higher likelihood to succeed than other companies that are trying to do this in the space. We don't even hear from Blue Origin nearly as much as we do about SpaceX, particularly from even their LEO satellites that they're trying to put up there. They're well behind. And I think that SpaceX has a lead there, and they're probably going to keep this lead at least for a while. And Starlink is going to be the mechanism through which they manifest that lead and keep that lead going. We are going to welcome Ilan in a moment. Yes, Martin. Yeah, and the one other thing that I would say about this is that the speed of this new device, the V5, and partially probably because it's smaller, it's not going to be as fast. But I don't think anybody's really going to care about this. Elon, are you with me? Ilan, can you hear me okay? Ilan? Ron, it doesn't feel like we can hear each other. Can you hear me now? Ilan, can you hear Michael? Can you hear me now? Ilan, can you hear me now? Hmm. What do you think the problem? I can hear you, Martin, perfectly fine. But can you hear Michael though? Okay, great. Great. So let's move him into the main spot, Martin. Ilan, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Super. It's great to have you here. Ilan Twig, co-founder and chief technology officer at Navan. We wanted to have you on this is interesting stuff. Yeah, to talk about how AI-powered travel and expense platforms will give businesses greater control over spending while making corporate travel easier for employees. I wish I had this when I was still working at a big company because it was a complete nightmare for me. Before we jump into this, Ilan, why don't you tell our audience a little bit more about the important work that Navan does, and then we can jump into the details.
Yeah, so Navan is a travel and expense management company. We help organizations manage a travel and expense program from all the way from booking and planning your travel, and then when you need help to manage it throughout the travel, making it really, really easy and fun, delightful. We really want to make it delightful because it used to be a nightmare. So yeah, that's the mission.
Yeah. Let me tell you my nightmare travel. Let me tell you my nightmare travel story from my corporate.
We all have, by the way, we all have nightmares for travel. Yeah.
So let me just tell you really quickly, and then we can jump into how you guys are fixing this, because I really want to understand this better. I needed to travel from Tokyo to Jackson Hole. Okay, via Denver. Not that hard. And I gave my travel team the instructions. This was at a big global investment bank. I don't want to mention who it is because in general, the people there were really nice, but the travel department really mucked this up. They booked me ticket. When I arrived in Denver, I looked up at the big board as I was coming up this gigantic escalator. If you've ever been in the Denver airport, and I looked up and it said my flight number was to Jackson, Mississippi. I don't need to tell you how different Jackson, Mississippi is from Jackson Hole. Yeah. So
yeah.
that was a nightmare.
You look traumatized by it.
I wasn't traumatized, but let's just say I wasn't traveling alone. I was traveling with my family at the time. I had a very young daughter. It was just a complete nightmare.
Wow.
Oh, and by the way, my luggage on United Airlines literally went back and forth between Jackson, Mississippi and Jackson Hole about five times.
Wow.
Because when it got to Jackson Hole, it says, well, these luggage belongs in Jackson, Mississippi. And when it got to Jackson, Mississippi, they were like, oh, this belongs in Jackson Hole. And they literally sent it back and forth. It was the winter time. I had to go buy clothes. Anyway, where does AI create the greatest practical value in business travel and expense management? How does that work?
There's actually lots of aspects of where AI can completely change the experience with travel.
Tell me.
It starts with booking the travel, planning it and booking it. With all of our competitors, historically, it takes an hour to book a travel or more than an hour to book travel. And the reason is that you end up doing it with an agent in the end. And with Navan, more than 90 and 95% of the bookings happen online. So because the system is good and it's nice and it's fun and it's quick. And also we use machine learning to prioritize the search results to you and personalize it to you so that you usually don't need to get to the second page. You get 10 flights, we show you the relevant flights to you, and you book one of them. And then things happen. So that's one part.
Go
but
ahead.
then when you travel, things happen, right? Like you had problems.
Yep.
There's cancellations, there is weather, there is issues, plans have changed. There is so many things that happen. And it is always very stressful when you're on the go. It's always stressful. You feel helpless. You need people to save you. That's the thing. I remember when I was traveling, I was experiencing these disruptions and the feeling of being alone, and then I need someone to save me. That's when we invested a lot of energy, and AI definitely allowed us to take the experience that we already had that was good to a completely different level. Today we have a bot that talks to users over chat whenever they have a problem. And more than 60%, I cannot say very exact numbers, but more than 60% of these chats are being solved by the bot. So they do not get to a human agent. And it is a huge advantage for the travelers because the bot is always available 24/7, no matter what, no exceptions. And it either solves the problem or it knows that it cannot solve the problem, and then it moves it proactively to a live agent with like a very, very detailed summary of what happened. And then the agent just continues the conversation and solves it to you.
But who manages the agent in this case? Is, in other words, if Corporation A is using Naval's system to do all of their corporate travel, right? And obviously it makes the expense management easier because it all sits in one place. I'm booking my travel and I'm expensing my travel in the same place, I'm presuming. But who manages the agents there? Are these agents working inside of the corporate infrastructure? Are they cloud-based and they work inside the Naval infrastructure? Or is it some kind of mixture of both of those things? Who's managing it at the end of the day?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. The world of having in-house agencies is gone. At least that's our approach, and we see it happening more and more.
Go ahead.
You do not want to do an agent for any travel need. You want to be able to do it by yourself. If I could solve all of my problems with I don't know, my cables by myself, I would do it. If there was a self-serve app that I could solve the problem, but there isn't. So I have to call. I have to wait on the line. I have to explain to the bot that answers to me everything. And then the bot tells me that it cannot solve it. And then it moves me to an agent. And then the agent asks me all the questions again. So it feels like the bot's only purpose, right?
This is a human agent, though, you're talking about, right?
So with Navan, you actually, when you reach out to support, most of the contacts to support happen by chat.
That's what I mean, though. But who's managing that chat? Is that chat managed by Navan, or is that chat managed by the corporation that's actually booking and managing the travel?
By Navan. By Navan.
Oh.
Yeah. When you use Navan, we have agents. They are Navan employees that are available 24/7, and the first point of contact, it actually is an AI based on all of the knowledge that we've collected throughout the 11 years that we've been in the field. And this AI is available to you, and it solves, as I said, that the more than 60% of the resolutions are coming from this bot, which you do not need to wait for. It's always available, and it remembers you and gets better and better over time.
So that's the other thing I was going to ask you about is, how do you design artificial intelligence that, like, because I want to sit on the aisle. You know, the guy who sits next to me at work wants to sit in against the window. I don't understand window people, but they do exist. Do you know what I mean?
I'm like you.
I just don't understand anybody that wants to sit at the window, but some people want to do this. But you understand the point is, like, and there are all these other little nuances that are different between me and you when we travel and you and Martin when he travels. How do you get the bot to remember the context of who I am so that when I do book my travel, it is as seamless to me as humanly possible? That's the first thing. And then I want to come back to this booking part of it, but please go ahead.
So first, you hit the nail on the head. Knowing you and knowing your preferences is super, super important. And then remembering it for the next time is super important. Context and memory is super important.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you feel like you're talking to a dumb system, and there's nothing more annoying than that. Like talking to a dumb system. That, hey, I just told you that I like I. So how do we do it? First, the starting point is that when you onboard yourself into Navan, you have your profile page, and in profile page, we ask you for some basic stuff like idle window. Do you like red eye fights or you don't? And we obviously ask for your loyalty. Which frequent flyers do you use the most? And some of really, really basic things. Imagine that you have a personal admin. The personal admin introduces you the first time that you work with her or with him.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's these type of questions. That's where it starts. So it knows not to show you the window. It knows not to show you Delta if you use United.
For sure.
And then the Delta. But that's where the journey starts. There is a lot of nuances that the AI picks on during the conversation. And once it picks up on something, it stores it. Now it is very, very sophisticated because some things are meant to be remembered forever. Like, for example, you have kids or your age, etc. It doesn't change. Like once I know when you were born, it doesn't change.
Right.
Some things are relevant for the next 6 months. Some things are relevant for the next 12 months. So the memory component is actually complex. We developed our own memory component.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of startups that's what they do, all in an attempt to make bots better with memory.
How do you account for, like, let's say I move from Morgan Stanley to Goldman Sachs. They'll both have different travel policies, but my basic preferences are still the same. Do I have to like reinstall everything? And how does it know what the travel policies are? Do you know what I mean? Like I want to book first class everywhere, but that's not what I'm entitled to if I'm at a certain company.
Right.
Like how do we handle all that stuff too?
Right. So again, as part of the Navan system, there is travel policy for travel, and there's also spend policy for expenses.
Right.
As part of the onboarding, we work with the finance team and we define it in the system. The bot has access to it. So when the bot talks to you and you say, "Hey, I want this flight that is business class," but let's say that you are director level or something and you're not allowed to, it will tell you that's not within your policy. It will not even show it to you. Imagine a conversation. Don't think about UI where you get a table. In Navan Classic, you get a table of results,
right.
and then we tell you this is out of policy, this is in policy, etc. The bot, when it talks to you, doesn't show you irrelevant things. It just tells you, hey, this is the best flight for you. It's United. It's within your policy. It's 2 weeks in advance because your travel manager demanded that all travel be booked two weeks in advance
right.
to save on the cost, etc. To your other question about, okay, you learned a lot about me because I've been using Navan for 1 year. The bot really knows me, and it's a pleasurable experience. It's a delightful experience. But now I moved to Goldman Sachs. So here it's all about identity. And we do allow the users of companies that are our customers, Navan customers, we do allow them to create a personal profile as well. And when you create a personal profile to book your personal travel, we remember you. And then that's your identity when you move to other companies as well. So if you use this thing, we actually identify you by your personal email. And then we know that this is the same person.
Interesting.
It's a really good question.
Thank you. I do the best I can. There were many times where I would travel, or people from corporates travel, and they're not traveling alone, or they're meeting up with other colleagues. Like they're going to Chicago together, but one of them is going to LA, and the other one's going to San Francisco, and then they're meeting together in San Diego. Like this is a trip that I've actually been on.
Right.
How does all that stuff get coordinated so that when we get to Chicago together to get on the flight to LA or whatever it is, we're on the same row? And like, how do we organize all that stuff? Which we literally could just like call somebody in the travel department at Goldman Sachs and just have them figure that out. Because that's complicated.
So travel is complicated, period.
Yeah, it is.
So it's just how it is. So I think your question, I can look at it from different angles.
Go
If
ahead.
there is, for example, a company event, there's a conference of the company, and a lot of employees need to get to the same place roughly at the same time, we have a solution for that, and it is part of the. So you don't even need to, as the employee, if you need to be in this event, when you open your Navan, you will see that you need to be somewhere at a certain place. You see like an invitation almost,
Yep.
and then you need to just, or you will say, okay, I need to travel from Tel Aviv because I'll be in Tel Aviv, or I need to travel from Paris because I'll be in Paris. But we know where you need to get to, and if there are hotels that are pre-booked for this event, then that's what it is. Or if that's not the case, then you will book something that is within 1 mile or 1.5 kilometers from the event, etc. If it is something that is not like a company event and it's just 3 employees traveling together, the easiest way would be actually for them to decide where they want to meet and then manage the travel and get there at the same time. There is no you can actually have one, if all 3 employees are available, all 3 of them can have a conversation with the bot, and the bot will book to all of them at the same time. That probably would be the best way. Imagine that the 3 are jumping on a conference call with a dedicated travel agent, but it is an AI agent, and you do it by chat, or very soon, also you could call it and talk to it. You could also call our bot and talk to it very naturally.
How about, look, one of the things that we mentioned already was the travel policies, right? And sometimes those travel policies can be pretty rigid, but there are a lot of exceptions. How does exception management work when you're using an AI bot where you're just like, look, my boss told me that actually for this trip, I can actually stay at a nicer hotel because we're seeing this very important client and I have to entertain them at their favorite restaurant. And do you know what I mean? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, it's a really good example, because these things always happen. And
They do.
sometimes you need to travel somewhere, and there is a big event in that city, like, I don't know, the New York Marathon or the Dreamforce
or WWDC. Do you know what I mean? Like the world, Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference, something like that, where tons of people are going and they're all going at the same
tons
time.
of people.
Or the F1 race in Singapore, whatever it is. Yeah.
Whatever it is, and suddenly the policy that was designed for regular days don't apply anymore because it's not relevant. You cannot find a room for $200 or $400 because that's what it is. The entire city is at full capacity.
Right.
So in the policy, there is how to manage exceptions. Oftentimes it would be, okay, so if the user books something outside of the policy, it will be very clear for the user that they book outside of the policy.
For sure.
And then it would the booking itself will be sent to the manager, and the manager has 24 hours to cancel it. And if they don't, it automatically gets approved. It could also be the reverse. Some companies would be more strict and would say, if you book outside of policy, it will be cancelled automatically in 24 hours unless your manager actively approves it.
Got it. Okay.
And there is an even more strict, you cannot book outside of policy, period. But I don't think that we have maybe a few customers that use this very strict. Now, just to complement it with the bot is aware of the policy. And so imagine a conversation that is just flowing, and then the bot tells you, listen, I can book you this hotel. It is out of your policy. However, there's nothing else available. So let's book this one. Your manager, Tom, would be informed. And within 24 hours, unless he cancels it, you should be fine. And I'll monitor it for you. Something along these lines. So that's how it is managed.
And how about expense management, right? This was like, I was terrible at this when I was at Goldman Sachs. Like and it was all fragmented, right? So I would take a taxi, or I would go out to a restaurant, or, sometimes you'd use your corporate card for something, and then you'd have to pay for the hotel, or all this kind of stuff that needs to get expensed. How does that work as well from an AI standpoint? And how does stuff get input into a system so that it's really, really easy?
Yeah. Again, your question is very broad, but I'll try to break it down. First, the easiest way is to use a card that Navan generates. And then when you use the card, we know exactly what we know that it was Starbucks, and we know that you paid, I don't know, $1 extra for a venti, an extra whatever. We know everything for the extra shot.
Right.
So we get the itemization from a lot of the merchants. And then we have a lot of context, right? We know that you are on travel, yes or no. We know which policy to enforce. We know if you were alone or not. We have access to your calendar. And we give all of this information to the bot, and that tries to make sense out of it. The bot will only flag those expenses that probably require a human intervention. I can tell you that most of the expenses, when you swipe your card in the airport, I'm sure that you experienced it. It's 7 a.m., you're in the airport, there is 15 people behind you in the line to Starbucks, you just want to get your coffee. And then they give you the coffee, they give you the receipt, you have your phone, but you only have two hands. And now you need to take a picture of the receipt. There's people behind you, and then you spill your coffee because you can't manage the whole thing.
A nightmare.
It's a nightmare, right? The experience with Navan, really, and it sounds like Nirvana, but it is that you swipe the card and then you get a notification. Your expense has been submitted, you're all set. And it is all fully legit, unless there is a reason for the AI to flag it. That's the experience that you will get. And then you don't worry about the receipt. You trash it, and then you just take your coffee in one hand and your phone in the other hand, and you move on with your day.
And does it consolidate, like, let's say I go on a week-long business trip. I'm going from Tokyo to New York to Chicago, Chicago to LA, and LA to San Diego, let's say, or to Detroit, because I've done this. Right. Does Navan know like what my business trip is, so that any expense that I have, but I have to use your credit card to do this, yeah? I presume there's some kind of branded Visa card that Navan has, or no?
You can either use ours, or you can use other cards that we have partnerships with, like Brex and others. It is not just Navan.
Mm-hmm.
You can also use we have partnership with Citibank, and there are more and more. But if you want to experience, then yes, use one of the cards that we have access to, and it doesn't have to be our card at all.
And how does it
our card?
And if it knows that, then does it consolidate them into one sort of consolidated expense report that then gets sent to my finance team, or is it just like one expense by one expense, bit by bit?
It does happen in real time. So when you swipe the card and you buy coffee, mm-hmm. or you buy dinner, it gets reflected immediately in all of the dashboards of the CFO, whatever. They have dashboards. Everything happens in real time, as opposed to at the end of the quarter, when it's the night that you need to pull the whole night, take the receipts that you collected throughout the month, take pictures one by one, and start filling up expense reports. And then you submit it, and then suddenly, overnight, the CFO needs to deal with $200,000 worth of expense reports that have not been submitted throughout the quarter, because it's a nightmare. So in this case, everything happens in real time. You do not need to worry about it.
But do they know, what does the expense management system know that like this is specific to like this specific trip that I was on? Or is it just some random expense that gets sent to the finance team?
No. Definitely, travel and expense go together. It's a T&E, travel and expense. We know where you are at. We know your travel. We know the trip purpose. We know everything there is to know about the trip. And it gets submitted as part of the line item in each expense report.
Right.
So yes, the context, we have full context about your travel and about the merchant, the amount, and the itemization. So we know the taxes, we know all of this. You know how it is with hotels, right? You have the first tax and the second tax and the third tax and the Wi-Fi and all of these things that gets added. We know how to pull these folios from the hotels automatically. So really, all of these things that you need to worry about, we automate. And yes, there is the context of your trip. We know that you are on trip to meet this customer in Detroit and the other customer in San Diego and the third customer in San Francisco. And we know where you're at, and everything will be associated. Otherwise, it's useless. Otherwise, it really is useless.
And what's the
Context,
what's the big benefit for the finance team just by having all this stuff happen in real time?
visibility is a key. Real-time visibility is a key. When you try to lose weight, real-time visibility is a key, right? When you're trying to improve your sport.
Are you telling me I'm out of shape? You're standing fat. That's not nice, man.
I'm just saying that real-time visibility is a key, no matter what it is that you're trying to achieve. Definitely, if you want to control the spend, real-time visibility is a key. And so that's what we provide.
And at the end of the day, like, how do we know this is actually adding value? That it's actually being more effective and more efficient than having a travel team? Do you know what I mean? Like, how do you measure the ROI here, both from a travel management perspective, but also from an expense management perspective?
I think you can talk about features and explain why these features are good or bad, etc.
Right.
In the end, you have customers and users. If the users are happy and the customer is happy, meaning the employees as well as the company, the corporate, then we're doing something well. And that's it. Like if the CFO is happy, if the managers are happy, and the employees are happy, then it means that all of them do get value. How do we know if they're happy? We see the adoption.
Mm-hmm.
First, we see the adoption, right? The people really use the system. And our adoption is north of 90%, 95%. A. And B, you ask them every once in a while. You ask them, hey, how was it? And it's an NPS, and our NPS score is 45, 50, which is a super, super, super high. It means that the users love us. A lot of customers are being referenced for other customers. And you can also see by just the numbers, because now we're a public company, you can look on the growth that we show quarter over quarter. We grow super, super fast. And you can look on attrition. Companies don't leave us. They don't. Because because they care about themselves, and they care about the employees, and they care about the business.
What are some of the biggest things, not feedback, but like what are some of the biggest things that like just universally all the customers want, but that hasn't been built yet? Do you know what I mean? Things that people request like, oh, if I could have done X, I would use it more, or I would be even happier kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like what's in the pipeline that people can expect because the users have come back to Navan and said, this would be really great to have?
I honestly think that what Navan provides today is so far, far ahead of the curve. Unless you use Navan, you're back to the Stone Age, to exactly what you experienced 15 years ago. That's the reality.
Right.
It is the reality. I think that what we are building now with the latest technologies, so AI, LLMs, and then agentic, and then post-agentic, it's OpenClaw, which so what we're doing now is we're building something that you do not need to prompt it. LLMs, all of the chatbots, they need to prompt them. You need to say something.
Yep.
And we want to build something that prompts you. So it actively looks for any possible failures in your travel, and it prompts you, even just to get to the airport, right? Sometimes there's traffic, and unless you actively look, you may find yourself in a very stressful situation. So this thing will follow you, check everything for you, and help you and make sure that your travel is completely stress-free. Anticipate problems, come up with solutions. Proactiveness, I think, is the next thing.
Got it. And who manages this? In other words, if I'm just like a mid-level executive at a big company, am I now booking all my own travel?
So it depends. If you have an admin, I have an admin. I don't book my own travel.
Right.
But my admin books my travel, and she wants to use a system that helps her.
For sure.
And when there's disruptions, she feels the responsibility. But if there's a system that helps her to know about the disruptions as early as possible, and then to come up with any way to solve it, then her life would be good. And we focus a lot on the admins. As a persona, admin is probably one of the most important personas, more than the CEO.
Yeah, for sure, because the
because the
CEO is not
CEOs
booking his
usually
own
don't,
travel.
exactly, they usually don't use the system themselves. So really important. The frequent travelers, those that travel 3 to 5 times a month, a lot of them do book their own travel. That's a key persona that we focus a lot on.
How does the booking actually take place? Does Naval have what API or MCP connectivity to booking.com and trip.com and agoda.com and stuff like that? Like, how does that work?
Okay, it's what we've been in the last 11 years, and we still build it. Travel is complex.
Yeah, very.
It's super complex. When we started, the only way to book was through the GDSs, so the global distribution systems, Sabre and the like.
Yep.
Then new distribution channels showed up. It's called NDC, and that's a direct way to book directly with the airlines and skip anyone in the middle. So we are a technological company, so we implement all possible ways to access the inventory of the hotels, the airlines, rail, cars, and it's a complex problem how to show everything that we get from all of these sources in a way that makes sense to the user.
Right.
Travel is complex. It's just Navan Cloud is this network. Imagine like this network of pipes that connects to everything related to travel and then expense as well, banks and credit card companies, etc., etc.
Right.
That's Navan Cloud. That's a huge asset that we've been working on and still are working on. Probably will never finish to work on for the last 11 years.
Yeah. That's
now that we have it, now that we have this thing that it's available to us, and it's the only truly global, I would say, travel platform today. It is available to our AI agents through MCP, through other ways as well. And now we can, that's why our agents, AI agents, can conduct a really, really intelligent conversation with you, having access to everything that Navan Cloud is connected to, showing it to you, showing you what's relevant to you right now, and not showing you what's not relevant to you right now. And then the conversation feels really personalized and efficient.
Are there other financial services? Because if you're processing all this travel, I don't want to know like what the GVM is, right? But if you're processing all these payments as well, at some level, part of the company, part of Naval is like a fintech at some level, yeah?
Yeah, we definitely are part of Navan businesses. It's a totally fintech business. And there is, we need to deal with fraud, we need to deal with Navan is a complex company. It's a really complex company. We've been building a lot of stuff in the last more than a decade. But I think what's really nice about it is that everything is buried inside Navan Cloud, all of this complexity. And in the end, what the user gets is a very clean UI. If you use Navan, we call it now Navan Classic. You use clean UI with the forms and tables, etc. Because I have this philosophy that the world of forms and tables is going to disappear. I don't know how long it will take, but it will disappear, and it will be replaced with a conversational experience with intelligent agents that can talk to you and then show you UI, but they will only show you what's relevant when it is relevant. I believe that this is going to change how users interact with computers. And Navan Classic is Navan Classic, and we invest a lot in what I think is not even the future, is the accelerating present.
Accelerating the present. Do you use in the back end when you're making decisions and when you're providing customer service and we're using sort of a chatbot mechanism, are you wed to one particular LLM or are you sort of LLM agnostic? Have you built your own AI models? How does that work?
It's a really good question. So the answer is no, we do not use one LLM. You cannot build any agentic, any helpful bot on one LLM. You need to have an agentic solution. What's an agentic solution? It's a collection of LLMs working together to achieve something. That's the concept. Now, when your second question about the models, when we started with, by the way, the only model that existed.
You worked with what? ChatGPT?
Back then, yeah, it was ChatGPT, GPT-3, GPT-3 then GPT-4, and GPT-4 Turbo, and because there was no alternative.
Yep.
Today there's plenty of alternatives of frontier models, but there is also a lot of alternatives of open source models.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah. So go ahead. This is where things get interesting for me. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I am a huge believer of you don't need a 5 trillion parameter model to answer to basically respond to the user for, hey, would you like this flight? Yes or no?
Right.
I don't need to send.
I don't need 27 trillion. I don't need 27 trillion parameters to do that.
Exactly.
Right.
And the frontier models today are anywhere between 1 to 10 trillion parameters.
Right.
I can substitute it with sometimes with 200 million parameters.
I mean, this is MOE.
Sometimes.
This is MOE functionality, right?
It is. You can think about it as an MOE where we distribute the question to the right model. We definitely. That's how I see it. We want to use more and more models that we host, that we manage, that we also train for the tasks that we need to deal with. For example, any of these frontier models can have a very deep conversation with you about quantum physics in Chinese.
Sure.
All of them can do it. The models that I'm training, that I need to manage your travel, I don't need this information. So all of these trillions or billions of parameters, I don't need them. I need the ability to reason. I need the ability to primarily reason and then use the tools and call the MCPs that we care about. And for that, we have a growing, I think that what we announced in the last earnings call is that we surpassed the 30%. So 30% of the LLM calls that our bot initiates in order to help users go to our own models.
Go to your own models. So models that you've developed yourself. So not even to other open weight or open source models.
No, so we most of them we take open source models and we fine tune them on our domain. So we make them experts in booking a hotel or booking a flight or choosing a seat and stuff like that, or managing some disruption. So so they need to be experts. They perform better, obviously, than the open weights, and they perform better than generic models that are not experts in
for sure
how to manage.
And what is the impact, just from a technical perspective? What is the impact on the overall token spend if you're using your own internal models as opposed to going to the frontier models, which would be much more expensive, I would presume?
So I just got literally an hour ago an update about. So we do test various ways to host these models.
Right.
Initially, we started internally, knowing that it is the least efficient way to do it. But the goal was not this efficiency. The goal was to see that it actually works.
Right.
Now that it works, we do look, and initial results indicate about 70% improvement in response time. 70% compared. So if, take an example, if some of the LLM calls to one of the frontier models today takes us, the median time is 3.5 seconds, it's a real number, to some of the calls. What we see is 1.5 seconds. So that's a huge improvement in response time, which obviously gets translated to user experience. You don't need to wait.
But how about the tokenization cost? Are you saving there as well?
Absolutely.
And do you monitor that when you're trying to make a decision as to where you're sending your query or where you're sending your chat?
The most important thing that guides us is what's best for the user. Only then do we think about other factors. But I can tell you that these models are really good. So we run evals and we compare, and then we see, okay, this model that we just have, out of the oven performs really well. Most times it surpasses the frontier models. So we then put it in production. And at that point, obviously, the cost per token drops dramatically.
It would have to, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's the cost, it's the response time, and it's the quality. all factors show better results.
Okay. One more thing, and then I'll let you go because I feel like I could just keep talking to you because this is such an interesting topic. But what do you do for an orchestration layer? How do you do your own orchestration? Do you use? You mentioned OpenClaw before, but I presume you're building your own orchestration layer as well, or no? And how about your semantic layer as well?
Right. So for orchestration, we actually started working on our bot in what was it, like March of 2023. That's
Okay.
4 months after ChatGPT came out.
Yep.
4 months. We started. There was no framework. There were no frameworks to orchestrate agents.
No, there was no
So
MCP that was developed by Anthropic.
There was, forget MCP. There was
Yeah.
no one spoke in the world the language of agents.
Right. Yeah.
This came in January of 2024.
Right.
But we built agents. And so because that's the only way to deliver reliable experience using bots, you cannot do it on a single LLM. You must have multiple LLMs. And so we built our own infrastructure, and we call it Navan Cognition. So Cognition is just the orchestration layer.
Right.
Today, there's plenty of orchestration layers and open source ones with thousands and thousands of contributors. So obviously, these layers become really, really good. You mentioned OpenClaw. OpenClaw, I cannot imagine myself taking the OpenClaw GitHub repo and just use it. There is millions and millions of lines of code there. I have no control over what's going on there, and I will never put it to use for companies. No enterprise company will not use it.
No, good to hear. I was just curious. Yeah. Just because you mentioned it before, it would have surprised me if you said we use all of our orchestration for OpenClaw. I didn't think you did, which is why I asked you if you built some stuff internally, and that ends up being Navan Cognition. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, Navan Cognition. And for the OpenClaw, what we've done is we mapped out those capabilities that we think are really unique,
right,
that OpenClaw demonstrated to the world. And we just rebuilt those capabilities into our own framework. And now we already are in very, very advanced tests of having a bot that acts like almost like OpenClaw, but we actually call it TravelClaw. So it's like OpenClaw, it's your own agent that is worried about you 24/7. It reaches out to you whenever it sees something that may go wrong. It can come up with solution. It has access to our Ava, our bot, so it can book flights and cars, and it can cancel and change. And so if it needs to do something, it can communicate with the bot. And I will tell you even something funny that I asked it as a test. I was in New York 2 months ago, and I asked it to book me a restaurant, to tell me about restaurants close to the hotel. It asked Ava, where do I stay? Got the answer and said, okay, around your hotel, there is these restaurants. Then I said, okay, book it for me. And it couldn't book. We didn't give it the MCP to book a restaurant.
Right.
So it asked Ava, okay, we said, Ava, please book this restaurant to Ilan. Now, Ava cannot book restaurants yet. So when Ava cannot do something, she moves it to a live agent. And surely enough, TravelClaw suddenly was talking with a live Navan agent about booking a restaurant to Ilan. And we had to intervene and stop it, but it's just...
right, because you were just testing.
It's pretty funny.
You didn't actually want to go there. You just wanted to test to see if the functionality
It was just
worked.
testing, yeah. And TravelClaw, I said, okay, if that's what I need to solve, I'll talk to a live agent, no problem.
Wow. Okay, Ilan.
Yeah.
I have taken up a ton of your time today. I really appreciate it. I'm going to let you go. Ilan Twig, co-founder and chief technology officer at Navan. I hope you enjoyed this as much as we did.
I definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much as well. Bye for now.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. That is it for AGTP Daily today. Thank you all again for joining us. We have a lot of people coming onto the live recording. Give us a thumbs up on today's video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow us on all of our socials, on X, on Instagram, and on LinkedIn. We love the interactivity in the chat. We also like it after we publish stuff. Leave us stuff in the comments so we can respond to that too. We will be back again tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Thank you again to Martin for all of his assistance. My name is Michael Waits. I am going to say goodbye for now.